with Jacksonville?
Underachieve. And that's not negative commentary about what I think about Trevor Lawrence. It's really commentary about the expectations. Guys, I don't want to be the bad guy here, but you look for comps, right? The last time there was a guy who checked every single box at the levels we've seen from Trevor Lawrence, and maybe not even quite from Trevor Lawrence, but that was Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck was one of my favorite quarterbacks. Loved watching him. And I expected great things from him. And we got very good things from him. Andrew Luck had a very good career. But if he didn't disappoint, then what he did was just reach his floor in terms of expectations, and barely. That's how great the expectations were. The remarkable thing about LeBron James is not simply that he's on most lists right behind Michael Jordan as the greatest player who ever lived. It's that it was improbable that, given the expectations of his amateur status, he could ever live up to them. And the fact is, he surpassed them. That is rare. That's not the rule. That's the exception. So Trevor Lawrence may wind up having a legitimately great career. And when we look back, we say, that dude was supposed to be one of the greatest who ever lived. And he was just, a 5-time Pro Bowler. We expected more. I would say more likely to underachieve relative to the expectations.
I disagree with you. I think you're wrong. And I think you're wrong because of Andrew Luck, and I think you're wrong because of Peyton Manning. I would remind everybody that Peyton Manning retired as one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived. His rookie year, he completed 56% of his passes in 1998 and threw a league-high 28 interceptions. He struggled his rookie year. I think when you look at Andrew Luck, his rookie year, even though they went 11-5, if I remember correctly, he only completed like 54% of his passes. There were things that you saw and you said, all right, he's got a lot to learn. But in the end, you had people crying about the fact that he had abruptly announced his retirement because they looked at the Indianapolis Colts, assuming they were going to be led by him because he had basically, graduated from some of the injuries that he had suffered. And they thought, hey, we've got a Super Bowl contender here. We've got somebody to rival to Patrick Mahomes and others. And then he ended up choosing not to play and announcing his retirement after a preseason game. The reality of the situation is that when you look at Trevor Lawrence and you combine that with the greatness that we've seen, albeit on the collegiate level, from Urban Meyer, I definitely think when you look at Trevor Lawrence, his height, his ability to look over opposing defensive linemen, and even over his own offensive line, the vision that he'll have because of that, the arm strength. And by the way, he showed in college on several occasions, including the National College Football Playoffs, that he's got some wheels on him himself. He can run with the football, not just throw. I think you take all of those things into consideration, his height, his football IQ, his visibility, his arm strength, how he can read through his progressions, how he can make and extend plays, his pocket presence and awareness. It's not an accident that when a draft where you literally have 5 guys at the quarterback position who are considered talented enough to take in the top 10, there has never been a debate at all as to who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in this draft. We knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be number 1 2 years ago after his freshman year. It was all about when he was going to enter the draft, and whenever he was coming out, that was when he was going number 1. That's how good he is. I expect him to live up to those expectations. So that's what meet expectations is the route I will go. He ain't underachieving. I don't think it's in him to underachieve.
Mina, where are you?
Well, it depends where the bar is. I mean, if the bar is, John Elway, Peyton Manning, who's being comped to, I am taking the under because I am a realist and live on planet Earth. And everything Steven said is right about Trevor Lawrence, his skill set, why he's the unambiguous number 1 overall pick. But here's the thing. For a quarterback to have that kind of Hall of Fame career, it's not just about the quarterback. A lot of things have to go right. Tom Brady is the greatest football player of all time. He also ended up with the greatest football coach of all time. Trevor Lawrence is going to Jacksonville, a franchise that not only hasn't had that history of success, but has a guy in Urban Meyer who's never had success in the NFL. They have a first-time defensive coordinator. There's a reason they have the number 1 overall pick. They had the 2nd worst defense by efficiency in the league last season. Now, does that mean I think Trevor's going to be unsuccessful? Of course not. I think he's fantastic. But the idea that he's already on track for this Brady-esque, Elway-esque career, given what we know about quarterbacks and how context-dependent they are, I'll bet against that.
By the way, Stephen A., how many number 1 overall picks in recent years have turned out to be great? When you look at the greatest quarterbacks in the game today, Mahomes didn't go number 1 overall.
Can I answer that?
Deshaun, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Like, stop me when you hear a number 1 overall pick.
I'm telling you, I don't give a damn. I'm saying he's the exception. That's my point. I'm not talking about somebody just because they're being picked number 1. Listen, I cover the sport of basketball. I remember guys like Kwame Brown and Michael Olowokandi going number 1 overall. I understand that just because you're the number 1 overall pick, that doesn't mean you're going to be successful. But I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence specifically. And Mina, let me throw this at you. You know, technology has advanced, football minds have advanced, football aficionados have advanced. I consider you one of them. Love your work. You know what the hell you're talking about. I would ask you this. Matthew Stafford is like 74 and 90, can't win a playoff game to save his damn life. Okay, only completed 62% of his passes in his career. Nobody questions his greatness, if I remember correctly, because we understand what you just said, that the people around him, coaches, organizations, and to some degree players, we don't look at Matthew Stafford and say, he's nothing. No, we say, damn, he's going to be in a better situation. Why do you think Max and mine, everybody's been talking about the Los Angeles Rams?
Go ahead, Mina. Go ahead, because I have an answer to that, too.
Yeah, you're asking me why does situation matter so much for quarterbacking success?
Yeah, I'm just talking about what you said in terms of, Matthew Stafford, I'm using as an example.
Trevor Lawrence, and why I doubt him, because he's ending up in Jacksonville. So Max mentioned Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest I've ever seen do it. I feel comfortable saying that. He's not the greatest quarterback of all time. He hasn't achieved enough, but just pure talent. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't end up in Kansas City, he might not be. I truly believe that, because the quarterback position, more than any other sport, you brought up basketball, baseball, whatever, depends so much on your surroundings, your coach, your system, the franchise, your offensive line, the guys you end up with. And that's why, forget Trevor Lawrence, even if Trevor Lawrence was better, I still wouldn't predict that he would be the greatest of all time, John Elway level, because he's going to Jacksonville, because he's playing with a head coach who has never had success in the NFL. That is a huge risk.
Only because he hasn't done it yet.
A bigger risk than Trevor Lawrence.
He hasn't failed in the NFL. This is his first go round.
All right, Max, last word here.
I agree with you about the coaching situation, too. I'm glad you brought up that point. It's been on my mind, too. But let me say this, Stephen A. And Mina, I disagree with you here. I think there are certain quarterbacks who would be independently great no matter where they went. It's an issue of degree. So Mahomes, the degree of his greatness is greater in Kansas City than very, very few of those guys. The vast majority fall in the range of they're a different kind of talent. And if they go to a bad situation, we won't think a lot of them. Stephen A., I disagree with. The question is Trevor Lawrence Patrick Mahomes level talent? I don't know. There's only been like 2 guys I've ever seen like that: Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. That's it. So that's the first question. The next question is this, Stephen A., about Matthew Stafford. Actually, this year is fascinating as it relates to Matthew Stafford, because we'll start to get answers. Is this elite talent that has underachieved in terms of wins and losses, is that more about Detroit, or now that he's in a great situation? Actually, does that have something to do with Stafford?
Question
We're about
no
to
question. You just called them elite.
Yeah, to Mina's point, the situation certainly matters. And you guys talked about where's the bar for these expectations. It's very low. Since 2011, the Jags have the worst total QBR in the National Football League. I'd also like to point out, Max, you're not the smartest person on the show today. We have Mina here, another Ivy Leaguer, and she's staying.
Never the smartest person.
And she's gonna
the smartest person on every show.
Mina, buckle up. You're about to meet Southern Steve. All right. When we come back, the Cowboys have a top 10 pick in tonight's draft. So what are the chances Big Jerry and company